What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a good weekend. In this video, I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek of what I'm pulling together here for this Bitcoin mining comparison. I am almost complete with it. There's a couple more things I wanted to add, but I didn't want to wait any longer. I want to show you the progress I've made so far, and I think you guys are going to find it useful. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to talk about an interesting ETF if you are bullish on just all Bitcoin miners in general. Now let's start this video off. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to check out my Discord. The link's down below for some free crypto and stocks. And let's look at a couple Bitcoin miners. Now you can of course take a screenshot of this if you want to save it for yourself, and I did leave it on the Discord if you want to download the files, but I collected some data and wanted to show you what I uncovered so far. Now I do want to add a couple more things. I do want to add their future expected hash rate and their current hash rate, but I do have a few things here for you. First off, you'll see that the green designates a better price, the red designates the worst of the list. And first off, we've got CleanSpark with the best price to sales 1.26, Mara with the worst of 7.55. These numbers could be a little bit off by the time you see this, and I am going off of data from Yahoo Finance. You'll also see that Riot, Bitfarms, and Hut are right around a decent 2 price to sales, which really is pretty reasonable. And looking at the price to book, you'll see CleanSpark again with the best number, a 0.54. This company is basically going for half of the book value. And you've got again Mara at the highest valuation with the price to book of 2.43. And you'll see that Hut 8, Bitfarms, and Iris Energy have a pretty attractive price to book value. Next up, looking at EV to EBITDA, which is enterprise value to earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. You'll see that CleanSpark has another great number, 6.9. Typically under 10 is great. If you're going negative, that's not necessarily good. You do have to consider there are other moving parts. Some companies might have a better balance sheet. Some things could definitely skew these numbers. And moving on to the revenue over the trailing 12 months. So over this whole year, how much revenue have they made? You've got CleanSpark at 137 million and growing, Mara at 188, Riot beating everybody else with 308 million in revenue, Bitfarms 186, Hut 8 205, and Iris Energy with the least at 66 million. But to be fair, Iris Energy has been growing their exahash quickly. And next up, looking at quarterly revenue growth, and this is year over year. So comparing the quarter 1 year ago to current quarter, you've got CleanSpark at 242% revenue growth. You've got Mara at a negative 15%, which would be the worst out of this list here. You've also got Riot at 112%, Bitfarms at a 14%, Hut at 30%, and Iris Energy taking the cake here at 452% revenue growth, because they are now just ramping things up. And moving on to my next slide, guys, you'll see that CleanSpark has the worst cash balance at 3.5 million. Mara's got a respectable 120 million. Riot has 272 million, beating the rest of the companies here. Bitfarms 45, Hut 60, and Iris Energy 210. Also looking pretty good for Iris Energy. Now, as for debt, CleanSpark looks the best out of this group with 20 million in debt. Mara has 766 million, by far the most debt of all these companies. Looking at Riot, dang near the same as CleanSpark, so I think this is pretty good as well with debt. Only 21 million, right around that 20 million that CleanSpark has. That's why I gave those both a green highlight. Looking at Bitfarms, 123 million in debt. Hut 8, 50 million in debt. And Iris Energy, 113 million in debt. And next up, looking at Bitcoin holdings, CleanSpark currently holds 519. Mara by far beats the rest with 10,555, and this is likely why it has such a high market cap. We're going to get into that in a second. But looking at Riot, it's got 6,700. Bitfarms 2,021. Hut 8, 7,736. Also quite a lot for that one. And Iris Energy, I looked through their mining update, looked through their earnings, and I didn't get a definitive answer. It does seem like they sell their Bitcoin as they get it and just continue to use that towards their growth. But let me know if you watch Iris Energy very closely and you know the accurate number. And next up, looking at these in terms of market cap, you'll see that CleanSpark has the best 217 million market cap. Of all these, definitely you want to look for something with the smallest market cap. And then, you know, looking at Mara, it does have 1.5 billion in market cap, definitely a lot higher than these other companies. But you also have to consider they have about 10,500 Bitcoin, and that totals to about 250 million. I really don't think that Mara personally is the right choice, because while yes, it looks great, has a lot of Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin does get into a huge bull cycle, definitely could see Mara blasting off because their value on their balance sheet for Bitcoin will definitely bolster the company. That being said, right now it's only 250 million. When you consider how much debt they have, that their debt is almost half their market cap, their cash is only 120 million, their Bitcoin holdings is only right around 200 something million. So they pretty much have 300 to 400 million in cash on their balance sheet, Bitcoin, cash derivatives, you know, and to see that high of debt, I'm just really not impressed with Mara. But any of you holding Mara, let me know why in the comments below. And you know, going back to the other slide, you'll see that their price to sales was definitely higher than others. price to book and EV to EBITDA was definitely not the best. But moving on to Riot, it has a $1.1 billion market cap. I don't think this one's a horrible pick out of the list. I'd say this would be number 2 or number 3 of my top pick. They've got very little debt, a decent cash balance compared to the others, and definitely quite a bit of Bitcoin. 6,700 Bitcoin, that's pretty nice. Also, they have really great growth in revenue, $308 million over the last year. Now, also looking at Bitfarms, only 302 million, definitely one of the smaller ones on the list. But you notice, in comparison to market cap, they have quite a larger amount of Bitcoin compared to something like CleanSpark at just a slightly smaller market cap. Now, Bitfarms also has more cash than CleanSpark, but they also have a considerable amount more of debt. So that's one thing to consider if looking into Bitfarms. Next up, looking at Hut, they've got almost a $500 million market cap. Their Bitcoin holdings looks very good with 7,700. Their debt is very reasonable, and I think their cash is pretty decent. Now, it's very likely that moving forwards, they might have to sell some of their Bitcoin, especially as the price continues to stagnate, and especially as they have to continue to burn cash. But it's the same thing for a lot of these companies. Some have had profitable quarters, some not. But if I personally had to pick 3, I would definitely go with CleanSpark, Riot, and likely Bitfarms. And I did actually recently sell a cash secured put, will likely go into a few more for Bitfarms, and may consider picking up some Riot. And of course, those of you that are familiar with the channel, you know that I have CleanSpark. Now, next up, guys, for those of you that are bullish on the overall Bitcoin mining sector, a Bitcoin mining ETF you want to check out would be WGMI, or the Valkyrie Bitcoin Miners ETF. And I have talked about this one almost a year ago, mentioned it, brought it to your guys' attention, and you'll see that it gives you exposure to quite a few companies. You'll get a little exposure to AMD, a little exposure to Argo blockchain, of course, Bitfarms. We've got CleanSpark on the list as well. We've got Riot, we've got Mara, we've got Iris Energy, Hut 8. All the companies I just talked about are on this list. So if you wanted exposure to each and every one, you could definitely get into something like this ETF, and their expense ratio is under 1%. So pretty reasonable for you to be able to just blindly put in some cash, set it and forget it, and let it do its own thing. But thanks so much for watching, guys. What do you think about these Bitcoin miners? Should I add any to this list? I'm not completely done yet, so I could of course adjust a few things, add a few to the list, take a few off or something like that. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate your support. Take it easy.